My brothers and my sisters, listen to me. There's something about a fragrance. The crushing produces the fragrance, and this is where the mystery of God's process unfolds. We all want the perfume, but none of us want the pressure that brings it forth. You see, before oil ever flows, something must be broken. Before a rose gives its scent, it must be bruised. And before your soul carries the aroma of heaven, it must first pass through the crushing of the Lord. The crushing is not a sign that you are forgotten. It is evidence that you are chosen. God doesn't crush what he has no purpose for. He only applies pressure to what holds value inside it. And sometimes the reason you feel pressed on every side is because there is something divine hidden deep within you that God is trying to release. You see, people will look at your life and think that the breaking is a punishment, but they don't understand that it's preparation. God uses pressure to reveal purity. He uses brokenness to release beauty. That's why he allows seasons where nothing seems to make sense, where prayers feel unanswered, where doors close unexpectedly. Because in that moment, he is crushing your pride, your ego, your self-reliance, so that what comes out of you is not you, it's him. You think you're losing, but you're actually being refined. You think you're falling apart, but you're actually being formed into something eternal. Every great fragrance starts in darkness. The flower doesn't bloom on the mountaintop first. It grows in the soil, in the hidden place, in the unseen hours where no one applauds and no one notices. That's where the crushing begins. God hides you so he can shape you. He isolates you so he can instruct you. The isolation you call loneliness is often divine incubation, because he knows if he exposed you too soon, before the fragrance matures, people would mishandle your scent. So he hides you in the soil of silence, allowing the crushing to extract the essence of his spirit in you. Sometimes the crushing comes through relationships that end, through opportunities that collapse, through dreams that delay. But every time something breaks around you, something is being released within you. The pressure you feel is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to draw out what's sacred. Think of the olive. It doesn't produce oil until it's pressed. It doesn't shine until it's crushed. And when God allows the weight of life to press upon you, he's not trying to break your spirit. He's trying to release his spirit through you. The fragrance of your soul cannot emerge without that crushing. There are people who have been wondering why their prayers have not been answered quickly, why the pain lingers longer than they expected. But what if the delay is part of the design? What if God is using this process to teach you how to depend on him, how to surrender completely, how to worship even when it hurts? Because when you learn to worship while you're wounded, your worship becomes a fragrance that reaches heaven. When tears fall, but praise still rises, that's when the aroma of your soul becomes powerful. Heaven recognizes the scent of sacrifice. It's the smell of surrender, the perfume of pain offered in faith. That is what fills the throne room of God. The crushing is personal. No one can go through your crushing for you. You can't borrow someone else's fragrance. You can't inherit someone else's oil. You must go through your own process, your own pressing, your own private Gethsemane. Jesus himself was crushed in the garden before he was glorified on the cross. He sweat drops of blood under the pressure of his purpose. That's what the crushing looks like. It's when destiny and discomfort collide. It's when God presses you so deeply that everything not like him begins to leave you. That's where transformation begins. And while you are being crushed, you will feel misunderstood. People may look at you and think you've lost your faith. They may see your tears and mistake them for weakness, but what they don't see is that inside your breaking, a fragrance is forming. What they don't realize is that your pain is producing power. You are not falling apart. You are leaking glory. You are exhaling God. The fragrance of your soul is being refined so that when you emerge, you don't just smell like survival. You smell like divine strength. Every time you say yes to God while you're hurting, the scent of obedience fills the air. Every time you forgive when you could have fought back, that's a fragrance of mercy. Every time you love again after being betrayed, that's the aroma of Christ. The crushing teaches you to reflect Him more purely, to carry His scent without contamination. It is in the crushing that the imitation is separated from the authentic. Anyone can praise God in comfort, but only the crushed can worship with depth. That's why the fragrance of a broken soul is so potent. It's pure, it's costly, it's real. The crushing season is a classroom where you learn to trust what you cannot trace. It's where God teaches you that He is still good even when life is not. It's where you stop performing for approval and start resting in His presence. You realize that what He's doing is deeper than your desires. He's not just fixing your situation, He's forming your soul. The crushing exposes the things in you that cannot stay. It removes pride, impatience, and fear. It squeezes out everything that clouds your purity so that your soul can carry the clean fragrance of God. And while you are being crushed, don't despise the process. Don't run from it. Don't think that God has abandoned you. He is closer in the crushing than He ever was in your comfort. The hands that press you are the same hands that created you. The same God who allows the weight to come is the one sustaining you beneath it. Every pressure has purpose. Every tear is watering the seed of your future. Every heartbreak is shaping the heart that will carry His fragrance. The crushing is the only path to carrying His aroma. There is no shortcut to authenticity. You cannot fake fragrance. You can imitate style, mimic tone, copy appearance, but the scent of the soul cannot be fabricated. It must be born through the intimacy of suffering. That is why those who have walked through the fire carry a presence that words cannot describe. When you sit beside them, you feel peace. When they speak, you sense wisdom. That's the fragrance of someone who has been through crushing and come out fragrant. The crushing strips away what's superficial and leaves behind what's sacred. It's not about perfection, it's about purity. God is not looking for flawless vessels, He's looking for fragrant ones. People who smell like grace, who carry the scent of compassion, who have been pressed enough to pour out kindness. That's why sometimes the very pain you prayed against is the same process that gave you power. The crushing was never to kill you, it was to release what was divine within you. Because until you've been crushed, you don't truly know what's inside of you. You don't know the strength of your spirit, the depth of your faith, the fragrance of your soul. And when you finally realize that the crushing was necessary, you begin to thank God for the pain you once cursed. You see the beauty in the bruising, the lesson in the loss, the revelation in the rejection. Because in hindsight, you understand that the crushing didn't take from you. It brought something out of you that was always meant to bless others. Your story, your scars, your survival, they all release a scent that testifies of His faithfulness. You become a living fragrance of hope to those still in their crushing. You become a reminder that pressure does not destroy. It reveals the perfume of God within the soul. Carrying God's aroma is not just about what you say, it's about what you carry in the unseen chambers of your heart. It's about walking into a place and changing the atmosphere without saying a single word. It's about living in such a way that people encounter God through your presence before they even hear your voice. When the fragrance of God fills your soul, you don't have to announce it. You don't have to advertise it. It naturally flows from the depth of your relationship with Him. You carry his aroma when you've spent time in his presence, when you've been still long enough to let his spirit soak into your being, when you've allowed his love to wash over every corner of your soul until you become a reflection of his essence. To carry God's aroma means that your life becomes a vessel of his presence. It's when people sense peace around you, even in chaos, because you carry the Prince of Peace within you. It's when you speak life instead of gossip, hope instead of fear, truth instead of compromise. Every word that leaves your mouth is dipped in grace because you've been touched by the divine. The aroma of God cannot be carried by someone who is filled with bitterness or resentment. It is carried by hearts that have been emptied of themselves so that God can fill them completely. You can't carry his scent if you're full of pride, anger, or selfish ambition. God's fragrance rests on the humble, the yielded, the surrendered. The aroma of God is not a performance. It's the product of presence. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai, his face shone because he had been in the presence of God. He didn't need to tell anyone where he had been. They could see it. That's what it means to carry God's aroma. It's visible, it's tangible, it's undeniable. People sense something different about you. They can't quite explain it, but they know there's something pure, something powerful, something heavenly that radiates from your spirit. It's not charisma, it's consecration. It's not charm, it's character. It's not your perfume, it's your presence soaked in his. You see, when you spend time with someone long enough, you start to smell like them. If you walk through a bakery, you leave smelling like bread. If you walk through a garden, the scent of flowers clings to your clothes. And when you dwell in the presence of God, his fragrance clings to your soul. The more you commune with him, the more you resemble him. The more you worship, the more you radiate his love. The more you meditate on his word, the more your life begins to carry his wisdom. You don't have to try to impress anyone when you carry God's aroma, because the anointing announces itself. It flows from authenticity, not from effort. Carrying his aroma also means you become an instrument of influence without manipulation. Your life becomes a sermon without a microphone. The way you handle adversity, the way you forgive those who wrong you, the way you love those who reject you, these things speak louder than any message ever could. The fragrance of God through your soul is the evidence that you've been transformed from within. You become the embodiment of grace, the fragrance of compassion, the aroma of divine peace. The world is drawn to that kind of presence because it's rare, it's real, and it's refreshing. But you can't carry this aroma if you keep dipping your soul into the contamination of the world. You can't smell like heaven and roll in the dust of compromise. You can't carry the scent of purity while walking in pollution. The more time you spend feeding your spirit with God's truth, the stronger the fragrance becomes. But the more you fill your life with negativity, fear, and sin, the weaker the aroma of God becomes. You have to guard your heart like a fragrance bottle. Don't let just anything or anyone corrupt the essence of God in you. Protect your peace, protect your purity, protect your presence. When you carry God's aroma, you carry healing. You carry hope. You carry restoration. People who are weary find rest in your words because they're soaked in grace. People who are broken find comfort in your embrace because it feels like the arms of God. People who are lost find direction in your spirit because your steps are guided by the divine. You become a walking encounter, a living altar, a vessel that releases heaven into every situation. That's what it means to carry his aroma. It's not about religion, it's about reflection. It's about being so close to him that the world can't tell where you end and he begins. Sometimes you'll notice that the more you carry his presence, the more certain people will distance themselves. Light exposes darkness, and fragrance reveals foulness. The scent of God in your life will make some people uncomfortable because it confronts what they are hiding. Don't take it personally. The aroma you carry either draws or repels, depending on the condition of the heart that smells it. For some, it's the smell of life. For others, it's the reminder of what they've lost. You can't change how others respond, but you can stay faithful in carrying what God has given you. Carrying God's aroma also means you walk with consistency. You don't change your scent based on who you're around. You don't smell like God in church and smell like compromise in the world. You don't release grace in private and judgment in public. True fragrance doesn't shift with the environment, it transforms it. When you walk into dark places, your presence brings light. When you enter chaos, your spirit brings calm. When you show up in confusion, wisdom flows through you. That's the power of the divine aroma. It changes what it touches. To carry God's fragrance is also to walk in forgiveness. Nothing contaminates your soul faster than unforgiveness. You cannot smell like heaven while holding grudges. The aroma of God is rooted in mercy. It flows from hearts that have been forgiven and now freely forgive. Every time you release bitterness, you make room for more of his scent to fill your soul. Forgiveness doesn't make you weak, it makes you fragrant. It releases the sweet scent of grace into the atmosphere. When you carry God's aroma, you also carry his joy. Joy is not the absence of trouble, it's the presence of trust. You can walk through storms and still radiate peace. You can face rejection and still overflow with love. That's because the aroma of God is stronger than the stench of pain. His fragrance covers your scars, not by erasing them, but by redeeming them. The more he heals you, the more your soul releases a scent that testifies of his goodness. And when people encounter you, they should walk away wanting to know what it is about you that feels so different. They may not be able to name it, but they'll feel it. That's when you know you're carrying God's aroma. You've become a living testimony. You've become proof that the Spirit of God can dwell in human flesh and still shine. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every gesture of love is another drop of divine perfume released into the world. You are the vessel, but he is the fragrance. You can carry this aroma in your home, in your workplace, in your friendships, even in your suffering. Because this fragrance is not based on circumstances, it's rooted in connection. When your heart stays connected to the source, the scent never fades. You can walk through fire and still smell like faith. You can go through storms and still smell like worship. You can lose everything and still smell like victory, because what you carry comes from within, not from around. Carrying God's aroma is the ultimate calling. It's not about being famous or powerful, it's about being filled. It's not about impressing people, it's about impacting them. You don't have to speak loudly when your life speaks clearly. The fragrance of God in your soul is the proof that his Spirit lives inside you. It is the silent sermon that touches hearts long after words have faded. And every day you walk with him, the scent deepens, the aroma strengthens, and the presence grows richer until your very existence becomes a reminder that God still walks among his people. Preserving the scent of grace is one of the greatest responsibilities of a soul that carries the fragrance of God. Because once you've been touched by his presence, once you've been filled with his Spirit, you must guard that fragrance with everything you have. Grace is not cheap, and the aroma it leaves on your life is precious. It takes only a moment of carelessness, a moment of compromise, for the world to try to contaminate what God has made pure. That is why preservation is not passive, it's intentional. You can't preserve something holy by living casually. The scent of grace is sustained by discipline, by devotion, by daily surrender to the one who gave it to you. Preserving the scent of grace means living with awareness that the world around you is filled with odors that seek to overpower your fragrance. Negativity, temptation, pride, comparison, these are strong smells that can mask the aroma of God if you allow them too close. The soul is like a vessel, and whatever you allow into it determines what will flow out. If you fill it with bitterness, your fragrance becomes sour. If you fill it with lust, your purity becomes tainted. But if you keep it filled with worship, with humility, with gratitude, then the scent of grace remains strong, no matter what season you face. The reason grace is called a fragrance is because it cannot be seen, only sensed. You cannot show grace like you show an object, but people can feel it in how you speak, how you forgive, how you respond under pressure. Preserving that fragrance means refusing to let offense change your tone. It means choosing kindness when cruelty would be easier. It means keeping your heart soft when life tries to make it hard. Grace is fragile, yet powerful. It requires protection. Every day, you have to decide whether you'll let the world dull your scent or let God refresh it. Preserving the scent of grace begins with staying close to the source. You can't keep the fragrance if you don't stay near the one who gives it. The further you drift from God, the fainter his scent becomes in your life. That's why prayer isn't just a routine, it's a renewal. Every time you enter his presence, your soul gets reanointed with his aroma. The Word of God acts like oil. It nourishes your spirit, restores your fragrance, and keeps your heart saturated with truth. Worship acts like incense. It rises to heaven and brings the scent of your soul back into divine alignment. The closer you stay to him, the stronger the scent of grace remains upon you. Preserving grace also means protecting your environment. You can't live in toxic places and expect to stay fragrant. There are relationships, conversations, and habits that act like smoke. They cloud your spirit and choke the aroma of grace. Sometimes preserving your scent means stepping away from what pollutes it. It means learning to say no to gossip, to negativity, to constant complaining. It means walking away from spaces that make you forget who you are in God. You cannot soak yourself in filth and still smell like holiness. You must separate yourself, not out of pride, but out of purpose. Because the aroma you carry is not just for you. It's for those who will encounter God through your life. Preserving the scent of grace also requires humility. Pride is the quickest way to lose the fragrance. The moment you start thinking the scent is yours, it fades. You are only the vessel, not the source. The aroma is God's, not yours. When you start boasting about your spirituality, when you start comparing your grace to someone else's, when you begin to take credit for what God is doing through you, the scent weakens. Humility keeps the fragrance pure. It reminds you that every good thing about you is because of him. It keeps your heart bowed low so that his spirit can remain high in you. There will be moments when life tries to make you bitter, when betrayal or disappointment tempts you to close off your heart. But preserving grace means choosing softness over cynicism. It means letting God heal what hurt you instead of hardening because of it. Grace is preserved when you forgive quickly, when you release resentment, when you refuse to let pain turn you into someone you're not. A bitter soul can't smell like grace. The scent of grace flows only through hearts that remain open, trusting, and tender toward God. Sometimes preserving grace feels lonely. You'll look around and see others compromising and succeeding faster, cutting corners and still being celebrated, while you're staying faithful in silence. But remember, temporary success often comes with permanent stench. What's popular in the world may stink in heaven. The aroma of grace is eternal. It may not bring instant recognition, but it carries divine approval. Staying pure, staying true, staying surrendered, these are the choices that keep your soul fragrant long after applause fades. Preserving grace also means managing what you listen to and what you speak. Words carry scent. Every word you speak either releases the fragrance of grace or spreads the stench of corruption. When you speak life, hope, and faith, you refresh the air around you. But when you complain, curse, or criticize, you pollute it. A soul that carries grace guards its mouth like a treasure chest. You can't speak death and expect to smell like life. You can't curse others and expect to carry God's blessing. Preserve your fragrance by watching your words. They are the perfume of your character. Your thoughts, too, affect your scent. What you meditate on becomes the smell of your spirit. When you dwell on fear, worry, and doubt, your soul begins to reek of unrest. But when you meditate on truth, on the promises of God, on the goodness of His character, your inner life remains fragrant. That's why the battle for your scent begins in your mind. What you feed your thoughts determines the aroma of your soul. Fill your mind with worship, with gratitude, with hope, and you will carry the scent of grace wherever you go. Preserving grace requires consistency. It's not something you do once, it's something you practice daily. Like perfume that fades with time, your soul needs constant refreshing. You have to go back to God over and over again, letting Him cleanse, renew, and refill you. There will be days when you feel dry, when the scent seems gone, when you wonder if grace has left you. But the fragrance never truly leaves those who stay surrendered. It simply needs to be stirred again through worship, repentance, and gratitude. The fragrance of grace also grows stronger when it's shared. You preserve what you pour. When you extend grace to others, when you encourage the broken, when you lift the weary, you actually refresh your own soul. The more you give grace, the more grace flows back to you. Selfishness stifles the scent, generosity releases it. A stingy spirit loses fragrance quickly, but a giving heart smells like heaven. You preserve grace by living as a channel, not a container. Preserving the scent of grace is not about perfection, it's about posture. It's about staying low enough for God to keep pouring, quiet enough for Him to keep speaking, still enough for Him to keep working. You can't preserve grace through performance, it's preserved through presence. Every time you return to God, every time you let Him correct you, every time you let Him cleanse your heart, you are keeping the fragrance fresh. The scent of grace does not come from effort. It comes from intimacy. When the scent of grace is preserved in you, even the trials of life can't extinguish it. You can walk through betrayal, yet still smell like forgiveness. You can face loss, yet still smell like peace. You can be misunderstood, yet still release love. That's when people know it's not you, it's God in you. The grace that's been preserved through pain is the sweetest fragrance of all. It's authentic, it's costly, and it lingers long after the storm has passed. Preserving the scent of grace is a daily decision to stay pure in a polluted world, to stay kind in a cruel world, to stay humble in a proud world, to stay faithful in a fallen world. The fragrance of God does not fade because of time. It fades because of neglect. the more intentional you are about protecting your soul, the more his aroma endures. When others lose their scent through distraction, you keep yours through devotion. When others blend into the world, you stand out as a reminder that the fragrance of grace is not a feeling, it's a lifestyle, a reflection of a soul that refuses to let the world rob it of the divine essence that God placed within.